Is it recording? Okay, yes. July 15th, 2021, Thursday, Mary Connolly, Part 8, Ted Bundy Encounter, and this may be the end part, I'm not sure. Loose ends. In a transcript, Diane Edwards says the main relationship with Ted Bundy was 1966 into 1967. In the transcript, she says she actually broke off in the spring of 67, but continued phone calls till July, her birthday, July 5th. She would go to San Francisco on her birthday, July 5th, 1967. We saw him approximately June 5th, 1967 at Jeb Stuart. Ted Bundy seemed enamored of phones, phone banks, crisis lines, non-battery radios, back when many landlines you could listen to the other parties on your line if you picked it up quietly, a shared line. As it was further, in the late 1960s and 70s, a fellow dispatcher of JSO said if you dialed a certain number, say 076 number, in a robotic way, it would give you certain data like the last number that had been received. So in other words, if you knew certain codes from the Bell telephone company, like number 076 or something, and you hit the number sign, it would tell you. Julia's sister, and these are pseudonyms, unfortunately I have to use pseudonyms. Julia's sister worked for Southern Bell on Monroe Street here in Jacksonville. Carol Durant worked for Mountain Bell. Odd, and he carried a Bell bag as he escaped on his trip to Florida. The point is he may have been playing Diana. Just as he played all his lady friends, he may have called her, but after March 1967, his whereabouts are iffy. He showed up for certain June 24th and 25th at Stanford. In other words, if you knew how to do it, you could pretend like you were somewhere else. And I think he had what I call a marker standing in for him, maybe at the college. I don't know. My friend Julia, pseudonym, was a few months younger than me, and I suspect there was some amount of turmoil in her home. Her mom was manic depressive and had alcohol issues and had electric shock therapy. To the outside, she appeared beautiful and classy, and she worked as a hostess and organist at the hotel called the Heart of Jacksonville downtown. The beds were usually unmade. After the ride, I moved on and didn't think much about it. Julia may have given Theodore her number. I guess I just wrote it off and glad he was gone, glad to be out of that car. Julia had a Barbie with a zebra bathing suit, sunglasses, and a hat, and a pink jacquard-type bathing gown. My Barbie was blonde and had a regular blue or red bathing suit. There were William Shakespeare volumes in her home. I read a few plays. Cece, the older sister, was about 18 to 19 and looked like a cross between Aubrey Hepburn and a young Liz Taylor. Cicely, the mom, looked just like Elizabeth Taylor. And she emulated Elizabeth Taylor. She made her makeup, beauty marks to appear to look like Elizabeth Taylor. It helped her hostess job and organist. Fake fur jackets, black skirts, gold lame, polka dots, like a 1960s style Kardashians. Rebecca, the next-door neighbor, was enthralled by the glitz and glamour next door. She was younger than us. She may not have recognized the undercurrent of mental illness and alcoholism. Excuse me, let me get some coffee here. I'm getting a septic tank and drain field dug today. She was young and she may not have recognized the undercurrent of mental illness and alcoholism. Cicely hid that, especially from small kids. Later, after many years after the divorce, Cicely remarried a guy named, after a while, and he looked like Timothy Connors on the Carol Burnett show. Completely different than her first husband. She was in her 50s, and the marriage did not work out either. His name was recognizable but not common, and I have to use a pseudonym. So Cicely, the mom, got remarried, and let's say it was Boatswain, or like Bob Boatswain. Well, later Rebecca married Lance Boatswain, and the name wasn't that common, as in King, Wright, Parker, Howard. No, Boatswain was not as common. And remember, Bob Boatswain, i.e. Timothy Connors, Tim Connors, yeah, something like that. That's how he looked. And Cicely, the mom that was an organist, that didn't last long either. So, but she kept that name, and she moved to Confederate Point Apartments. Rebecca lived on Aldington, right next door to Julia, Barbara, Cece, and Cicely. Bob's Boatswain wasn't that long. Maybe she has selective memory and doesn't want to be involved. Cece became pregnant in 1968. She said the baby boy was stillborn. If she had a brief summer romance with Theodore Bundy and the child lived, he would be about 53 years of age. Many investigators have died, and I wish I could find any that would pursue this. I was listening to Kevin Sullivan, and some of the times he gets rather misogynistic. He doesn't understand certain things, and it's like, okay. And he comes to a dead end. And all right, I'm not going to go there. Anyway, Jerry Thompson, the Haywoods, I wish any one of them would look for Becky Porter. That's a real name. Becky Porter was a kid in high school, and she may have been a friend of Julia. Rebecca Clemency may have been a friend of Julia's, or Becky Ireland. These are real names. Becky Ireland, Becky Porter, Becky Clemency, Rebecca Clemency. Somebody named Becky knows, and they know the story. They know that we rode with this guy. The others about the ride. She is my witness, but as you can see, she doesn't want anything out of it. She doesn't want any of it out. I would be glad to be hypnotized or polygraphed. This is going to be a long one. There's a clover lease as you go on I-10 to Gainesville or Lake City at Highway 301. Bundy actually corrects the detective, I guess in Pensacola, about the clover leaf. He says, no, it's a clover leaf, because he'd driven that stretch before. He talks about his mom. She was smart, but she said no smoking, no drinking, no close girlfriends, no card games, no talking over the back fence. And this gets me, because my mom would talk to 2 or 3 ladies over the back fence, Mrs. Abbott, Mrs. Mock, Mrs. Mays, and Mrs. Eccles, over the back fence. She played canasta. She smoked, and on New Year's Eve, she would take a drink or two. Rebecca's house is right next to Julia's. The parents would sit around the kitchen island, and the young adults would sit in the den within earshot. This is why I think he had because if they were off in college, and I was busy with my Army Reserves, and from 1975 to sometime in 1977, I was with the JSO, and even before that, I was taking college, I was doing things, so I wasn't down. I was considered myself an adult. I didn't go visit Miss Susu that much. But depending on who was home over in Julia's home, Barbara, Cece, they could have wandered over to Mrs. Susu's house and listened to the coffee klatch. It was creepy to me that he talked about everything my mom did, because, they would have coffee klatches. Bundy knew Jacksonville. He stayed at the Holiday Inn near downtown. He rode to Marietta. Now, it sounds like something in Georgia, but no. Marietta is a subdivision off I-10 near Baldwin. He bought gas there, according to next-door neighbor. He tried to abduct Leslie Parmenter near Jeb Stuart Junior High School on Blanding and West Gannett. He approached another girl that afternoon, by the way. She was walking on Wilson Boulevard between Parvin, Parvin, and Hugh Edwards, Hugh Edwards. She escaped by running in the opposite direction. The Green Acre sporting goods store was off of Normandy, which is 301 from the west. Julia's house was on Aldington, just off Wilson. He drove to Orange Park, Florida, south of Jacksonville, and stayed or ate at a Holiday Inn down there. Julia's house is in the middle of all of that. The girls moved out, and no one was at 4110 Aldington. But Bundy still wasn't known. If he could have found his old skiing buddies, his old chums from 67, 68, 69, he might have tapped them up for money or find a way to calm down. I think as much driving as he did way back when he was already familiar with Jacksonville. That's right. In other words, he knew where he was driving around Jacksonville. The places he went, an ordinary person could have gotten lost. But he circled all around Jacksonville. And if you draw like a clock face, if you draw a line through the middle of Orange Park, Edison Avenue, Marietta, Jeb Stuart, you draw the line through that, you're at 4110 Aldington. Unfortunately, and I'm going to say the name, the Hogues had sold that house. All right. If you scratch the surface of Julia more than rolling her eyes and acting like I'm some kind of obsessed signal 27 or 220, as Ann Rule said, if you'll scratch the surface, you'll see that she's told others about the ride. Okay, so now there's two of us in the Volkswagen, okay? I mean, what the hell? June 1967 summer band. I haven't gone into the Confederate point thing. Rolling her eyes, deeper, there was a relationship or friendship. Okay, that's all. That's not that bad. We'll go into the building of the subdivision of Confederate Point, which involved a lot of temporary labor. Thank you. That was part 8. Please, I need someone that can actually scratch the surface. What about all that suing and all this stuff? I noticed it hadn't happened. Miss McChesney, somebody, please. There must be somebody that could do something. Thank you.